All right, let's go ahead and get going here. Thanks again for joining, everybody. This is Mitch Stetler speaking. I'm the co-founder and CEO of VividCharts. We'll first start off with a little bit of housekeeping. As mentioned in the invite before, anybody who attends will be getting a DoorDash gift cards from us and our sponsors. And those will be sent out after the webinar once we get the attendee list. So keep an eye out for those. Just a little lay of the land here. I'll introduce us, our sponsors, and Intuit, and then I'll hand it over to Intuit. And after Intuit's presentation, we'll have a Q&A session. Feel free to be putting questions into the Q&A feed the whole time, and we'll address those at the end, and we'll pull those all up. And if there are any questions at all, please don't hesitate to put those out there. I'd like to thank our co-sponsors, Cerna Solutions, Ahead, and Cloudpires for helping us make this possible and helping us organize this and getting everybody on here. It's a great group of people that have registered and a great group of people already on here, and obviously a great customer in Intuit, who I'll introduce in a minute here. Just to give some of you a background on who VividCharts is, in case you all don't know. We are a ServiceNow elite technology partner, which essentially just means we have an application available on the ServiceNow store. Our app in particular is entirely focused on data visualization and presentation in platform. So when a customer like Intuit installs our app, there's no external integrations, servers, data warehouses, or anything like that. It's really just an additional visualization and presentation layer that helps you automate a lot of your manual reporting and really helps you get to data to the people who need it, who maybe before weren't able to do that. We actually met Intuit on the floor of Knowledge 2019 out in Las Vegas last year. We were competing in the ServiceNow CreatorCon Challenge, and we actually ended up winning that, which came with an investment from the ServiceNow Ventures group, and has really helped grow our relationship with the ServiceNow product team. So we know where they're going, they know where we're going, and we know where the customers need to be. Why I'm really excited for all of you to be on here in particular is because Intuit is really a leader in ServiceNow reporting. And the way I like to think about it is right now, 3% of ServiceNow's customers are actually viewing reporting as a strategic asset. Intuit is in that 3%. And you're going to see why as they walk you through some of the things they're doing in platform with reporting. And so while you're watching this, I urge you to just think about yourself and your organization and try to decide, are you in the 3% who are really taking advantage of all this data and all the automation capabilities you have in platform? Or are you in the large majority, the 97%? And then, if you decide you're in that 97%, try to think about what it would mean for your organization if you made that step into the 3% and started viewing ServiceNow reporting as a strategic asset. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Intuit so we could learn how Intuit delivers innovation and awesome with VividCharts. So on the Intuit side, we've got Brian Nath, who's the ITSM tech lead at Intuit, and then also Buckley Perks, who is in IT support at Intuit. Brian, Buckley, thanks a bunch for being on here, and the floor is now yours.
All right, thank you, Mitch. So let me give you a little bit of background on myself and a little bit of Intuit, and then we'll give Buckley that opportunity. So again, my name is Brian Nath. I have been with Intuit for a little over 20 years now, primarily in the IT service management space. My current role is the tech lead, product manager, architect for the IT service management space, along with some automation platforms that we have within the company. Buckley, you want to go ahead?
Yes, thank you. I've been with Intuit for just a little over 5 years, and primarily in IT support. Just recently transitioned to a systems engineering team. But data's always been an important piece to both roles that I've played, and I continue to find ways to pull data out of ServiceNow, which is great.
A little bit of information about Intuit, if you didn't know about us already. We are the makers of TurboTax, QuickBooks, Mint, and some other products that you might be familiar with. We are laser focused on our customers, not only our external customers, but we live and breathe that innovation, and we champion that even internally with a lot of our customers internally. They're using our our workforce tech platforms like ServiceNow and a lot of the other tools that we have. So really, really driven on that customer experience from that side. We roughly run around 10,000 employees and growing throughout our entire year. As you know, with tax season and things like that, we can grow up anywhere to 40, 50, 60,000 workforce, and then we come back down for that. So that's kind of us Intuit in a nutshell there. So some of the values for us, integrity without compromise is one of our values. And then we go into courage. We also go into customer obsession. Customer obsession, again, is huge for us. We live and breathe that as much as possible. And then we're stronger together. And should get us one more, I thought. Maybe not. There we go. Oh, we jumped off of that. Apologize for that. And now it's probably going to make me jump back. There we go. And then we care and give back. So like a lot of companies, we love to give back, get out into the community and give back to those folks. Is it going back through those again?
No, Brian, you're. It looks like it's almost frozen on the 4 values that you first mentioned.
Did you guys lose me?
Yeah, but we can hear you back now. Do you want to go ahead and share your screen again? We'll see if it works this time.
All right. Where did I end up at?
We were on the 4 values. It froze. You went through all the values, and it froze on the values themselves.
All right. I apologize for that. Gotta love the technology. Let me go back into presentation mode. 1 second. There we go. Give me 1 second. All right, and back into sharing. Okay, so I had finished up with the values, and I jumped on to talking a little bit about some of the different tools that we're using. We used previously to VividCharts for some of the reporting capabilities. So performance analytics kind of laid that foundation for us in some of the things that you're are gonna see today. I think about 2 years ago, we purchased performance analytics, and we started using that heavily within the IT service management space to really get insight into our data, helping us really prioritize some of the efforts and some of the things that we needed to really hone in on to kind of create a better experience for our users when it comes to customer service. How are we measuring our performance and doing things in that space? And so performance analytics is really powerful on the back end, but I think as one of the things we struggled with was how do we present this type of data and get it out to folks without having to do things really heavily within the platform with the ServiceNow dashboards and things like that. All right, next slide. So for us, innovation is key in delivering excellence. So one of the things that we looked at with VividCharts was access issues. As you know, some of the platform capabilities within ServiceNow is when we were trying to give access out to folks, it was you're having to give reporting access, then you're having to give dashboarding access, and then when somebody needed that access, they were getting the, hey, you need to reach out to this dashboard owner to get that access. And so one of the capabilities that we saw with VividCharts is being able to kind of create a public view of these dashboards and not require that operational work to continuously grant access to folks to be able to get into things. Manual reporting was huge manual reporting was kind of a pain point for us. We were having to go out and pull a lot of different data together and then put it out into other tools to then present it out to folks. And so there was a lot of work that went into that, and you'll see that in some of the future slides and how VividCharts helped us bring that data together and put it into one view and one tool to be able to present that out to our leadership. When we originally, I think, like Mitch stated, one of our leaders at the Now conference in 2019, he saw the product, and we all quickly got a text, you guys need to come check this out. So we all quickly came over, checked out the platform, really liked what we saw. And I think within months, we had brought the capability in-house, and we started using it to solve some of our reporting pain points that we had. Buckley, do you have anything to add on that one?
I would just piggyback on top of that. Same with, we loved performance analytics, but the other piece to it was just getting enough people that could easily get access to the data and build the reports. And we found the ease of that within VividCharts, and the visualization side of it, being able to kind of present the data in a visual way that we could customize to the very kind of umpteenth degree was a huge thing that we loved when we saw it at Knowledge Conference.
Yep. Yeah. And so one of the things that we're going to dive into next is one of the areas we really focused on day one when we brought VividCharts in, and that was around us doing our DevOps reviews. So ultimately, what we were doing on a quarterly basis with our leadership is all these various teams would come together and sit in about 3 hours of meetings. And each team kind of had their one way or their individual way of reporting that out. And there were some templates that we were asked to use. So there was a Google sheet that we were asked to put things in, or there was a PowerPoint slide template that we were asked to use. And as you can imagine, every time you even doing that once a quarter, you're taking hours and hours and hours of work to go curate that information. And at the time, when we speak DevOps, that's my team, along with some other platforms that we have within DevOps. We were all having to go out and collect this data out of the ServiceNow platform, put it into the Google Slides, or the PowerPoints, put it into the G Sheets and things like that, and format it how they wanted it. Very time consuming having to do that. And so what we saw, and this next slide talks a little bit about that. We were taking all of these different things, the manual reporting, multiple tools. We were all doing it differently. And VividCharts gave us that capability sitting on top of the ServiceNow platform to give us that look and feel that leadership was looking for when it came to doing these DevOps, these quarterly reviews that we were having with our leadership. We went from hours of doing that to sheer minutes. And really it was just about the work that we were having to do prior to those meetings was typical of probably a lot of teams where we weren't actually updating our data as we went through the quarter, and we just had to scramble to get that data ready. And then once the data was ready, the presentation layer was already there, and it was doing it for us. And so we didn't have to do any of that work to actually present that data. So as you can see here, this is kind of a snapshot of what we were doing. We used the ability to kind of do the slide presentation within VividCharts. And again, it saved me 2 to 3 hours of work each time we were doing these reviews and having to put that data together. As you can see, trying to do some of this from a graphical standpoint was rather difficult to do without potentially having to go build out custom portal pages right within the ServiceNow platform, or use some other analytics tool that was out there to do this. VividCharts really gave us the capability to create this custom view and kind of template that they were looking for. And the back 2 slides that you see, the operations review with the open incidents and then our backlog, those weren't so much templates that we were trying to follow, but it did give us the ability to have just kind of a better graphical interface to show that UI experience. This bottom section, or that project review, is really where there was having to take all of that data out, put it into a G sheet, color code all of your columns and cells to match. Whereas now all of this data is being driven or being pulled directly out of ServiceNow automatically. Anytime somebody wants to view this, and they're seeing a real-time status of what's in the platform when it comes to that data. As we've gone through this with our team and started presenting our quarterly reviews out using this format, there's more and more teams that are jumping into this type of template and utilizing the platform to maintain their data, and then utilizing VividCharts to present that out to leadership. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Buckley. And Buckley, I'll do my best to follow along and get the slides changed for you.
Sounds good. Thank you. And piggybacking on the last thing that Brian, you said was one thing that we found as we've gone through this is the more times we come to the table with charts and dashboards from VividCharts, all of a sudden you'll see the other people at these quarterly meetings or whatever being like, ooh, I want to get my data in there. I want my data to look like that. And so we are seeing that further adoption. Like I said in the introduction, I've worked in the IT support kind of frontline side of things with Intuit. And Intuit is we're a huge company across the United States, across the world. We've got teams kind of throughout. We've got an actual traditional service desk, as well as people on site, and different forms of really supporting our customers, going back to that value of customer obsession. We love our internal customers as well as our external customers. One thing I found early on is we have a ton of data and we have a ton of information in ServiceNow, but one of the problems, as you'll see in the next slide, is that it wasn't centralized. You'd have one team that would report on their information in one fashion, and they would be sharing this dashboard, and then you'd have another team reporting on it a little bit different way. And what it did is it made it confusing for management and senior management. They would have multiple bookmarks and multiple links, and you'd get in a meeting with them, and they'd pull up, let me pull up the dashboard. They'd pull up a dashboard, and they'd maybe have 2 versions old. You'd be like, oh wait, that's the wrong one. Let me show you the right one. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to create a centralized hub where we could have all this data. Because instead of having to track down the right link, instead of having to track down the right person, I wanted an easy spot that it could be located. And so I went about and saying, hey, you know what, VividCharts, we can visualize it really easily. We can make it easy. Let's also make it a central hub. So I actually created a dashboard, and you'll see in the next slide, I've created a dashboard that has some top level information. But then along the side on the left there, you can see links that link off to other major dashboards. And this was a starting point. I want to say, okay, what are the main dashboards that senior leadership needs to see? And then we started with a couple. And then as we started presenting and sharing this out, we found more teams saying, hey, I want to get on that dashboard. I want to get on that hub. And so it became a one-stop shop where people could come and find the information. And it's still a work in progress. So we're still tweaking it and adapting it and still trying to make sure people are using it. But instead of managers and senior managers having to go track down 5 different bookmarks to see what the front line's doing and to see what on-site's doing and see what an engineering team's doing, they have one link that is shared to them that we don't have to worry about making sure they have the right permissions to see. They get that one link, they open it up, they can see some high-level data points, and then they can have a bunch of links that branch off to the other key and important dashboards. And then because it's live and easy, we can edit it. We can add an additional dashboard. We can add additional information. And we're not having to share out, hey, here's the new dashboard. Make sure you're looking at this one or that one. It's there. It's live. They've loved it. They've loved the visualizations. They loved being able to have the data, being able to see it live, being able to get quick and down to it. Like Mitch kind of mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, data is crucial, and it's what will drive important decisions to be made. In my next example of how we've used VividCharts, we oftentimes will spin up a project, and it might be a month-long or 2-month-long project. And one thing we do is we'd oftentimes send out a spreadsheet or a Google Sheet where we'd ask the frontline technicians to update their progress each day. And we recently were doing this, and I sat there and looked at it and I said, why am I having to go in and update this spreadsheet? The data's already in ServiceNow. We're already tracking the work we're doing through tickets. So in a matter of less than 30 minutes, I was able to go in, throw together a VividChart dashboard, grab all the open tickets, all the closed tickets from the day, the states of the different tickets, and share it out to the manager that was running this project. I said, hey, would this be helpful? And he loved it. He's like, this is exactly the data we're looking at in a spreadsheet, but I can see it visually and I can see it live. So it changed and it changes, and we continue trying to push ourselves to use more of the live data. It changes having to track things manually. It changes, hey, the techs forgot to update the spreadsheet. They're already busy enough working and helping and taking care of our customers that now it eliminates one last kind of manual tasks they have to do or paperwork in essence. They follow their normal process through ServiceNow where they are closing out their tickets. They're putting their notes and their details in the ticket. And if they're doing that accurately, the dashboard's representing exactly what they're doing live. And then the managers running this project can look at any point, pull up the dashboard and say, oh, I can see exactly where we're at. We're on track. We're 75% complete. And then they can watch this. And the great thing, because it's so easy to throw together a dashboard and puts together something quick and easy, it's fine if we use it just for a month during a project or 2 months and then spin it down and close it out. The last example that I'm going to share from the front line is oftentimes with any organization, you'll deploy a new feature or you'll deploy something internally to your users or something might break. And you want to see the immediate impact of what it's having on your front line and what it's having on ultimately your employees. So there's been multiple occasions where we've either pushed a new change or a new product or something maybe is broken. We want to see, hey, what impact is that having to our employees? And I've had opportunities to throw together a quick dashboard. Again, it's so easy to jump in and throw together something and share it out and track it on a day-to-day basis. So then in their daily call, when they say, hey, what's the progress of this? They can pull up this dashboard and that's really driving that call. They can see, okay, we can see the impacts where we deployed this and on this date, we can see where it started making the change. Because that data is live, all of a sudden the decisions that management's making is based off that live data. And it's going to impact how quickly we can respond to problems, how quickly we can respond to employee change, and make sure that what we're anticipating and what we're kind of planning for is actually live and actually happening with the end users. So VividCharts has been a crucial partner in order for us to be able to see that data in a very quick and timely way. Visually, it's amazing, and it just allows the managers who are making these decisions to have data live and easily at their fingertips to make the right decisions themselves. And Brian, I don't know if you want to touch upon this slide here. So really before VividCharts, all the data is in ServiceNow. Before VividCharts, sometimes you'd find more and more teams, either they just didn't report on it because they didn't know they could, or didn't know how easily accessible it was. There was a lot of manual reporting, a lot of exporting it out, or using the out-of-the-box dashboards. And then again, performance analytics. With VividCharts, what we found is you definitely have had more people adopt and say, hey, I can report on this natively with VividCharts because I can make it look the way I'm trying to make it look. We found that more people ended up using data natively in ServiceNow to report on instead of either not creating reports or exporting it out. We're still using out-of-the-box dashboards, and we're still using performance analytics because it definitely has a key place in the data that we use. But VividCharts has made it so we can easily display and graphically kind of customize it to where we want, and then use it on a regular basis and kind of streamline that entire data to reporting to action and decision making.
Yeah, and I think thank you for that, Buckley. And I think to kind of touch a little bit on the after and where we're at currently with VividCharts, the flexibility from a UI standpoint, like any product, is it giving us every single type of report widget that we need to be able to display? No, but it gives us the flexibility with a little bit of knowledge and understanding of how they've done some things. We're flexible enough that we can be like, okay, we need to take this template that they've got, and we need to make some tweaks to really customize it for Intuit's needs. That's something you couldn't do with an out-of-the-box report type out of ServiceNow, and it's something VividCharts really gives us the ability and flexibility to do. And that's what I love about it, because again, going back to with us being a software development company, everybody is really big on how do things look, right? And so the more that we can tailor our experiences to our Intuit brand and how we brand everything, it's going to go a long way in getting adoption of that capability of VividCharts. And I think last there, we say yes a lot more and are driving more value to the business, especially around reporting, because like we talked about, it became difficult. You had to have a lot of knowledge on how to do things directly in ServiceNow, where VividCharts just gives us the ability to let folks do their own thing and build their own dashboards and reports.
And along with that as well, I've also found that I think more people have enabled themselves to go and build those reports. And even though the reporting is the same in essence, you're reporting on the same data, the UI, I think, feels more user-friendly, and they enjoyed it, and they got excited about it. Because data sometimes can be boring, but every time I would show someone VividCharts and say, hey, do you know you can report on this, and here's a great tool, they always would be excited, like, this is awesome. This is super, super great. Let's show me how. Let me jump into this. And in 30 minutes, I'd kind of given them a brief rundown, and then they'd be off and running on their own. And then before I knew it, they would have built 3 different dashboards. Like, this is super great and super helpful. So we were saying yes more, as well as people, I think, were jumping in on their own and taking the initiative to start building their own dashboards for their own teams.
Yep. And I know we don't have a slide on this, Mitch, but I did want to kind of bring it up. We're as we grow with VividCharts, I think the next big one for us is our goal is to actually use VividCharts to replace some of our health and utilization type dashboards that have been put out there and then have been deployed, whether it's with custom code that we've written in ServiceNow through the service portal and doing things there. And we're going to start leveraging VividCharts to really, the data sits in the platform. So why not use that reporting capability that we have with VividCharts to do that versus these graphical interfaces? Because right now, or versus these custom UIs, because right now it's really engineering heavy on, hey, we need to make tweaks to the UI. Let's get engineers involved. Let's have them tweak the UI, the HTML, and everything that's involved in doing that. Versus VividCharts, and we go that route and get VividCharts to display that data for us, and then it's update your data. It's going to reflect on the front end immediately.
Brian, that's great. And I'm trying to hold off on the Q&A, but there's one specific to this slide that popped up, so I'll just go ahead and ask it. In the didn't report because it was too difficult box on the left, the before VividCharts picture, how did VividCharts help solve some of those issues for you so you could start doing it once you had VividCharts?
I think the biggest thing is we just go back to how out of the box ServiceNow reporting just didn't have the flexibility to really make it look the way we wanted. It was very difficult to make it look the way we wanted it to, right? Where VividCharts just gives us that flexibility through styles and through things like that to really present the data, again, going back to our brand, right? In a way that reflects our brand and the experience that we want through our UIs. I think that was really more the difficulty that we had with the out of the box reporting.
Got it. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, we screened through that rather quickly, so we have plenty of time for Q&A.
Awesome. Yeah, we've got some queued up here, so we'll go ahead and start asking some of these. One of them, I would say, isn't so much around VividCharts, but maybe just around reporting as a whole. So I think it would be a good thing to address just to get your take on how you, worked around or what you ran into. But somebody asked, what are some of the specific limitations you have found with performance analytics?
I think the biggest thing around performance analytics is mostly probably a knowledge gap, right? It's that you've got to have an understanding of how performance analytics is configured and how you go about building that. So the learning curve is extremely high on that front. But once you get folks that understand performance analytics and have the knowledge to go build that stuff, it's relatively easy. It can get very complex just because of what that capability provides. But that's probably the thing that we've seen with performance analytics on our side.
And to follow up with that same question, because I'd 100% agree, it's the knowledge piece. I even went through and did performance analytics training, and still didn't feel fully comfortable afterwards. That it was like, where does this apply versus not? I think a lot of it with performance analytics, because it's a powerhouse of a tool, and we still definitely use it, is understanding when to use PA versus using standard reporting. And more often than not, when I came on and started doing more reporting, is people be like, oh, we should do some performance analytics, and I try to understand their use case, and I say, you can achieve that through reporting, and it's simpler because you don't have to set up all the kind of the framework to do it in PA. Let's do it in reporting. So I think the understanding of when you should use PA versus when you should use standard reporting, and when you should use standard reporting, VividCharts is great, because then you can really customize and get that visual the way you want it to be. And again, just reiterating the ease of use versus PA definitely takes, there's a steep learning curve to get you up and running. And so people that don't live doing reporting every day, the manager that wants to jump in there once a month, they don't have the time to invest in really getting PA up to speed with PA. And so reporting is typically going to solve 90% of their needs.
And that's a good way to put it, because we obviously love performance analytics and essentially have built a business around it. And oftentimes I feel like anytime you hear somebody have any sort of negative feelings around it, it's oftentimes because they don't really know how it's supposed to be used or what it is, because really it's not a visualization tool at the heart of it. It's really that data engine. And so when people think it's, an all-encompassing visualization and reporting tool, that's not always the case. And that's where you can get some expectations that fall short. But that was really good. The next question we have here is, how has your leadership responded to the use cases you described? And that's
I think,
Eric.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of positive feedback, right, on what we're doing. I mean, they're all for anything to help increase productivity, and that's what VividCharts has done for us. I think in all of the use cases that we've solved to date, it's been around we've increased productivity by putting these processes within VividCharts and these dashboards within VividCharts, and so they're all for that.
And I think it goes back that at the very beginning, data is so crucial. And so if we can provide them data and provide it easily and in a way that they can easily understand, it's huge. It makes huge difference in the way they can then act on that data and make changes quickly.
Yeah, and I think to add a little bit more to that, it's around now with VividCharts and being able to have other folks build reports and dashboards out there without having to have a solid knowledge of ServiceNow reporting and capabilities. Things are happening faster for them. So the leadership, they always like not to have to lean on the platform experts to go out and build reports and dashboards and things like that. And with VividCharts, it's so easy to learn and build those graphical dashboards that they can put that stuff out there faster than having to wait in a backlog for an engineering team or a platform team to go out and build those for them.
That's awesome. The next question is probably more geared towards me, but somebody asks, who are your competitors? And really, it's kind of it wouldn't say this is a salesy answer by any means, but we really don't have any direct competitors because we live and breathe in platform. And just being integrated with out-of-the-box reporting in PA, that means they're obviously not competitors. We're friendly with them and integrate with them. What we really view as our competition is just really the old school way of thinking with reporting, which is oftentimes largely manual, and it's typically out of platform. So really, we look at any manual reporting effort as our competition. And so from product direction decisions, we look to see what we can do to really mitigate as much of that manual effort as possible and keep it in platform. So that's a good question. And I
think, Mitch, from a customer standpoint, right, from our standpoint, when I look at the landscape, right, because we're in touch with all those other products that are out there. When you see those other products that are technically analytics tools or dashboarding tools that are out there, you guys have that leg up because you are on the platform. You're not building integrations and not having to push data out into data warehouses to have those tools access it. With VividCharts, you're sitting there right on top of the platform where, depending on the company that's deployed ServiceNow, they may have 1 to 50 processes running through that. And then with your product, it's right there with no expertise of integrations or anything like that that's needed.
Yeah, it's really well articulated. Thanks for adding on there. The next question I see here is actually a good one. I think for both of us to answer, probably. I would definitely like to get your take. Is there any, or are there any performance issues / limitations to report on large amounts of data, such as 20,000 open incidents?
I personally haven't built anything running off that amount of data. I don't know, Buckley, from your side, if you want to speak to anything that you've done.
So some of the reports that I've built, I've gone back 6 months worth of frontline incidents. What I would say is there'll be no different limitations than ServiceNow platform would have itself. One thing that I believe, and Mitch, help correct me, help keep me honest, is when you set up the reports or dashboards, you can set them to load when you open the dashboard, or it kind of pre-caches the data. Is that correct, Mitch?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. You've got a lot of control over when that data is being collected.
So if you have a report that does have a lot of information that typically when you open it up in a dashboard in ServiceNow took longer to load, if you can tweak the way that you have that set up with VividCharts, you could have it set up. Say it's not, you don't need it live minute per minute, but you just need, hey, you're looking at the last 6 months. If it's pre-cached when they load it in the middle of a meeting and it's not trying to load right away, or it's already loaded that day, it won't sit there and spin. It should be up and live. So I haven't ran into any limitations, and I have gone back 6 months, maybe even a year on some of the dashboards looking at full incidents.
Yeah, and what I'd add on to that is oftentimes it's very chart or report dependent. So, if you're looking at 20,000 open incidents, if you're just creating an aggregate view like a bar chart or a donut chart, that really shouldn't be a problem at all. When you start, really in any tool looking at performance issues with that, amount of data, it's more when you're looking at granular details of each. Like if you were trying to create a list chart with 20,000 incidents, that would add some time without a doubt, regardless of the tool you're in. We've got customers that use us for CMDB reporting, for example, and we're talking millions and millions of CIs in these big organizations. And for the reasons Buckley mentioned, this has become advantageous to use VividCharts for those types of reasons. That was a good question. Okay, we've got some more. Can VividCharts be used against any relational database? So that's somewhat of a loaded question, I would say. First and foremost, we say if the data is in ServiceNow, we can absolutely get to it. Whether that's PA, whether it's in one of your tables, whatever that is, we can get to it. We've also had people actually create custom charts in VividCharts that will actually reach out with web service calls at the time of collection to get aggregate data from external tools or databases. So I'd say yes, but I'd have to hear a little bit more about your specific use case before giving you a hard yes there. Okay. It looks like I'm going back up to make sure I didn't miss any questions. So far, I think we've answered all the questions we've been handed. Obviously, we've got plenty of time here, so if anybody else would like to ask some questions, please feel free to do so. Okay, well, while we're waiting, I'll go ahead and wrap us up, and if we get any more questions, we could tag them on at the end. But again, I really want to thank everyone who joined here. Really appreciate you coming in here and what Intuit's been doing on the platform. Like I said in the beginning when we kicked off, Intuit really is truly in that 3% of ServiceNow customers who are viewing reporting as a strategic asset. And I hope this really showed you why. There's no shortcuts taken. They know what they need to do. And really, they've been a great partner for us because they've really helped steer our product as well. So it makes it easier to be part of that 3%. So I'd like you all to continue to think about where you fall in that 97 or 3% breakdown. Along with you all for joining, I would love to thank Brian, obviously, and Buckley from Intuit, and Intuit as a whole, just for allowing us to put this on and participating. We're going to be sharing this out afterwards to anybody who maybe couldn't make it, or anybody who just wants to see it, any coworkers or anything like that. And upon request, if you would like the deck, I believe we're allowed to share that as well. So feel free to reach out for that. And lastly, I'd like to thank our partners again, Cerna Solutions, Ahead, and Cloudpires for helping make this possible. It was a great presentation by Intuit. Some great questions were asked, and again, really appreciate everybody. And one other question that did just get popped in here is the access to VividCharts is based on roles like in ServiceNow. And yes, that's correct. So VividCharts is a scoped application, and with that, we have 3 of our own roles that have varying level of access to what you could do in VividCharts. So you could grant those as necessary, and those are all really geared around building. So it's not so much for the people who are going to consume those reports. That's separate, and that would be more around who you grant access to as a VividCharts builder for a particular dashboard or slide deck or whatever that might be. All right, we will keep the line open for, let's call it 2 more minutes here, and then we'll go ahead and shut things down. Thanks again, everybody.